Hello and welcome to the Mets in the UK podcast, bringing you all things Mets from a UK perspective, coming at you every week on a Tuesday. You can find us on all of the socials, X, Instagram and Facebook at Mets in the UK, or you can use the hashtag MITUK to get involved. As always, thank you to those of you who check us out on a weekly basis, our recent subscribers and commenters. We greatly appreciate it. If you have not yet done so, please get involved, give us a retweet, a repost, a like, a comment, anything like that helps us grow this and bring more baseball content to people across the UK. Now, those of you watching on YouTube can see, but for those of you listening on all of your good podcast streaming apps, I'm joined today by multiple people from the Mets in the UK group. So we've got Toria. Good evening, Toria.
Evening. Is it evening?
It is evening.
God,
it is now.
It is, yes. We've also got Tracey, the boss is back. Hey, Tracey.
Hi.
And we're joined by Jo as well. Hey, Jo.
Hi, happy October, everyone.
October already. Where has this year gone? We'll get more into October and the fun vibes in a moment. I'm going to start things off as we always do with a quick roundup of where we've been over the past week since we last went through everything that was coming up. No one could have called what happened over the last week. We started off with a 5-1 loss to the Braves. There was a Vientos home run. Severino had a rare bad night for him. Bullpen managed to hold it down afterwards, but not the best night overall from the Mets. We then had the weather debacle, which, as I'm sure many of you will already be aware, the games against the remaining two games against the Braves were postponed for a doubleheader until the Monday. This was despite MLB and pretty much anyone in America knowing that there was a hurricane coming into Atlanta 4 days before the first Braves game. I feel like a lot's been said on this topic, so I'm not going to dwell on it too much, but for those of you that don't know, who maybe aren't familiar with how MLB works, Rob Manfred obviously is the commissioner of MLB. He is elected by the owners of the baseball teams in MLB. We saw Manfred at his finest during the recent CBA lockout with the players and the negotiations. And during that time, and it was fairly obvious, he was doing his job. He was doing what was best for the owners rather than what was best for the players. We all saw it, whether you agree with it or not. As a fan, that is the baseball business side. You know, even for our Lord and Savior, Steve Cohen, it's still a business. He is still trying to make money from the Mets. Granted, there are things that he will let slide because he is a fan as well as being the owner. But ultimately, it is a business. And a lot of the owners see it that way. They treat it as a business, some more fairly than others. Cough, cough, Oakland. But, you know, ultimately, Manfred is acting on their behalf. Very similar to what we have in the UK with the Premier League. Richard Masters is the CEO of the Premier League. His job is not to do what's best for the players. His job is to grow the game, the Premier League, the brand around the world. It's a similar structure. You know, it's a business over here, just like it is over there. And ultimately, it comes down to dollars on a spreadsheet. And I think probably what we saw happen, you know, this is not insider knowledge by any means, but I think what we saw happen with the Mets, I don't think for 1 second has anything to do with the Mets. I don't think this is an anti-Mets agenda or whatever conspiracy theory you want to throw on it. I don't think any of this was taking place. I think it purely came down to the fact that they were looking at it as Mets Braves Thursday, Friday games versus a doubleheader on a Monday. Out of the two, they would rather have played on the Thursday, Friday because that's more dollars. That's more people through the ballpark. You've not got to do a split admission doubleheader. The Braves can make more money at a time when, for baseball clubs, you know, this is key income time for them. And I think ultimately the decision was made on the dollar rather than what was best for the players and the safety. And it's not just the players either. We're talking about the people that work at the stadium, the fans that have got to come to and from the stadium. And I think the whole thing was really poor that, you know, at this time of the season when there are other options available, the game could have been moved elsewhere. There was an off day that could have been used. Hell, these games could have been played in the summer when we had nicer weather. You know, October's not the best time to try and play baseball. I think it was the wrong decision and everyone can rightly agree to that. But I don't subscribe to these these theories whatsoever about it being an anti-Mets kind of thing. We'll get more on your guys' takes on that and everything else in just a second, but just to wrap up the rest of the games, after the weather debacle, the Mets managed to get into Milwaukee to play the Brewers for their 3 games. They managed to get there safe and sound. First game was a 4-8 loss. Vientos hit a home run. Manaea just didn't have it in that game, although the game was overshadowed by the umpire show and quite possibly some of the worst officiating we've seen in a long time in MLB. Then we lost 6-0 the following night. Just 2 hits for the Mets that night. Reed Garrett gave up 4 runs in the 8th. Those were the first runs that he's allowed since the 18th of August. So quite a long stretch for him without giving up any runs. Bit of a rare night for him. Third and final game against the Brewers was a 5-0 win. Saw a Lindor home run. RBIs from Nimmo and Alvarez to shore that up. Then yesterday because time of recording we're on Tuesday, the Mets played the doubleheader against the Braves. We saw quite possibly the most ridiculous comeback I can remember in recent history. Mets won 8-7 to secure some postseason baseball. Lindor and Nimmo hitting some home runs, finishing up 8-7 winners. Game 2, the Mets then called up Joey Lucchesi, treated it like spring training, and who really cares about the second game? They lost 3-0, but by that point, we'd already qualified and happy days. So crazy week to cap off a crazy season. It's just been ridiculous from day one for the Mets. Going 0-5 to start the season, the May slump, 50 million things that have happened in between, starting with the London series, and we've ended up in postseason baseball. Start with you, Tracy. Thoughts on the last week and the chaos around the Mets?
It's just been that kind of season. It's been probably the biggest roller coaster I can remember since 2015.
Yeah,
and it's got a lot of the same vibe to it as 2015. So let's hope we can get further than we did in 2015. But it all did start in London.
Yeah,
and even the Mets have acknowledged this. They released a video today of like the woes of the early season and then how it picked up at game 2 in London and then Grimace and OMG and everything from there. So we started it. Can I just say we started it? We are taking full credit for that.
100%. It was us screaming at the London Stadium that definitely did it. They could hear us.
Absolutely, yes. I'm sure they probably could.
I think Tracy intimidated them, to be fair, with their screaming.
I scared them into playing better, yes. As for the conspiracy theorists about the scheduling, whatever. I think at one point there was talk of a window to play in Atlanta, and I think Howie tweeted, "This is the view out of my window right now," and it was pouring down with rain. Yeah. So there wasn't a window, but we got the win yesterday that we needed, and Joey Lucchesi went out and did what he needed to do, saved our bullpen, and we're looking really good for Milwaukee.
Absolutely, yeah. Jo, anything you would like to add over the last week or the season in general?
We've been like a Jekyll and Hyde team all season, haven't we? We've been like some points we thought, this season's a write-off, we'll just do whatever and build for next year. Then the next minute we've been like the best team ever. And then just when you start to get excited again and we've gone on runs, we've like everything switched off again. It's mental. But I know the weather was annoying and all that kind of stuff, but in some ways I kind of wouldn't have wanted it any other way, because although yesterday was extremely stressful, it was, when we actually did it, it was so euphoric. It was just unbelievable. And just the story arc of this season, you just couldn't have written it any other way. And I agree with Tracy about the London thing. And I just basically think we need our faces on a T-shirt somewhere. Like, we've got Grimace, we've got all the other things, Rally Pimples. Yeah. We need our beautiful faces on a T-shirt. Like,
absolutely. We need that.
Yeah.
We need that on a T-shirt somewhere.
Because I'm with Tracy.
People listening online can't see me pointing to the
yes.
The flag and us.
Basically. The flag and us that graces my office door.
Yeah. So it's been awesome so far, and I hope it carries on.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, fingers crossed, and we'll get on to predictions and what's coming next. I'm still staying well away from those predictions after last week. Toria, anything you'd like to add? 'Cause I know you've been watching every second of every game.
But
You're a little night owl.
Something. I can't help it. I just don't sleep. And even when I say, how many times have I text the group or text you, Trace, and I'm like,
Yeah,
I'm not staying up tonight. No, I'm going to get an early night, or I'm going to go to sleep, and then
I get another text at 1 a.m. going, I'm awake.
Sure.
Mets happens, and I just end up watching. I can't help it. And do you know what? I'm making the most of it because it's not been intentional this year. It's in my 15 years is the only time I've watched this many games. I probably normally miss maybe 20, 25. So I don't envisage it happening again. I'm normally pretty happy with missing like 20 to 25, and that's pretty good.
Yeah.
But so this has been a bit of a crazy one. But like, what a season to have watched pretty much every minute of every game of, because it has been, as we've all said, like this. I actually think it's been more a roller coaster than 2015. 2015 was more longer ups and longer downs. This has been like everywhere. I'm going to touch very quickly on the umpiring show because we've all seen terrible umpires and we've all lived through Angel Hernandez, but Ramon de Jesus the other night was terrible. And not only was he inconsistently bad, he was aggressive as well. Like you can't, I'm sorry, you cannot do that. How can you do that and be supposedly a professional in your job? I have never seen. I've seen Angel Hernandez be bad. I've seen other umpiring displays of poor umpiring, but at least normally they're consistently bad. The other night was unbelievably shocking. And I just think, I don't know how they get away with it. Well, I do. It's the association, but
Yeah.
I think on that, Toria, just credit where credit's due. Carlos Mendoza handled the whole situation really well,
absolutely.
professionally. Given I would have been absolutely raging at some of those calls that took place, and the fact, like you said, he was aggressive. He squared up to him. It was just so unnecessary, and for him to handle it the way he did, I think a rookie manager as well, absolutely fair play to him.
I mean, for him to handle the whole season how he has, let's just say, has been incredible. As for last night and the rescheduling, it's weird, but I actually think it perhaps did us a favor, because if you think how we were playing when we went to Atlanta originally and how we came off that first game, it didn't necessarily, we knew that we needed to win, but we still, you kick that can down the road, right? You've still got the Brewers series. So I don't know that we would have performed the way that we did yesterday had we played those games last week. You don't know. I just think that actually it kind of, I think we were in a much better place having come off the win against the Brewers. We were in a much better place to play that game yesterday, even though it's not been great for travel and for the management of the team, having to play that doubleheader yesterday and then start all over again today. And not that we're complaining here in the UK about getting the earlier start, but of the two options, we got the least rest of the two. But I'm going to say it was fate. I'm going to say
super concentrated the focus, didn't it? They don't have to.
Exactly.
It's like now or never.
Exactly. We knew we had to do it. Now that game though was so up and down. My poor cat gave up trying to sit on my knee.
That's what the cat do.
I had one of my Mets fan friends recently converted. Bless him. I mean, what a season! What a season! Our Gavin, he listens every week. Bless him. So hi, Gavin. And he literally had goosebumps. Like literally had goosebumps at the end of that game. And he's only just gotten into it. So
we can't promise this every year, though, can we?
No. We can't go through it every year. To be fair.
No, it's going to kill half of us off if we do.
My phone was blowing up constantly. Our chats were insane. I got FaceTime from Mr. and Mrs. Met. So, that was
name drop, don't you?
Cheers, Anthony. So that was lovely for them to say hello and to be part of that as well. I got to kind of join in with the watch party a little bit over the pond. And I'm not, you can tell because I'm still a bit little. I've kind of not calmed down yet. Even, the second game, who cares? We watched it all. I kept saying, I'm going to sleep now, I'm going to sleep now, I'm going to sleep now, I'm turning everything off now.
And then we kept getting messages.
I can't help it. But
she was
next time,
excited.
I know. Next time, you just have to say, Toria, go to sleep.
We'll just block you. We'll just block you. It's easier.
Thanks, babe. I love you too. But anyway,
we'll just silence you for a bit.
We didn't care about game 2 last night. It was all about looking forward to tonight, and I'm gonna shut up now.
Well, on that note, I think after game 2 we saw the celebrations. If you've not seen it yet through social media, I strongly encourage you to watch the video of Carlos Mendoza speaking to the players in the dressing room before they celebrated. I don't know about you ladies. I would absolutely walk through a wall for that man, I should say. Slip of the tongue there. I would walk through a wall for that man. Yeah, absolutely. Very inspirational, from the heart. He seems like the nicest guy, as well as being a very sound baseball head as well at the same time. He's not always got it right this year. There's been the odd moment where he's mishandled the bullpen or, brought in a pinch hitter at the wrong time or failed to do so. But I think on the whole, we can look back at what is his first season as a manager. And considering, in recent times, we've taken similar gambles on the likes of Luis Rojas, which we all know how that went. I think Joe's face there says it all. Absolutely, we've seen a very good, capable manager this year from him, and I look forward to seeing what he can do in the postseason, which is a nice segue into the postseason roster, which was released earlier today. Tyler McGill out of the postseason roster. Not much of a surprise, given that they are thinking ahead to the next 3 games against the Brewers. With him pitching yesterday, there's just not enough rest time for him to be in, which is likely as to why he's not featuring at the moment. It's still possible that he can be switched in and switched out with other people. What was a bit of a surprise was we saw the addition of Max Kranick, a reliever who's been performing really well in AAA this year. Got some very good numbers down there. He could make his debut for the Mets during the postseason, which is just wild time. No pressure at all. I suppose the other thing to note as well is that Jose Butto is on the list of pitchers. We've seen a lot of him out of the bullpen this year in that sort of Trevor Williams role, for lack of a better swingman role, whatever you want to call it. If we got desperate, he could step in as a starting pitcher if we were absolutely desperate. But obviously, we're not wishing anything away there. So what's next for the postseason? As we've already alluded to, we've got the Brewers tonight, which is in about an hour and a half's time at the time of recording. We then play them again Wednesday and Thursday, but those are middle of the night games, which I'm sure, Toria games. Yeah, she'll be texting us at 3 a.m. The rest of you, though, we understand, if you're not staying up to watch those games, those are middle of the night games. There is no UK friendly baseball there. No. The winner of the Brewers series will play the Phillies. Those games are currently scheduled for Saturday, Sunday, Tuesday, Wednesday. That is as far as MLB have gone with the schedule at the moment, because game 5, 6, and 7 are hypothetical. There are no start times at the time of recording. Everything is currently TBC on the MLB website, so we can't even promise you some UK-friendly baseball. It'd be nice, obviously, but we shall see. And then very quickly, before I get your takes on what's going to happen over the next 3 games, we put out a tweet earlier today asking people for their opinions on what's going to happen and where they were feeling after things. Had a response from Darren. Hello, Darren. He says his heart says the Mets for the World Series. We need our hitting game to be upped, pitching staff to pitch their absolute max to have a real shot. in the AL, I'd like the Orioles or Tigers to make the World Series. Hashtag you gotta believe. I'm staying well and truly clear of any predictions. I always get this horribly wrong. So I'm going to jump straight to Jo for this one. Jo, how do you think the next 3 games are going to go against the Brewers?
I'm just going to be wildly optimistic. I'm going to say we learned enough in that game we won against them the other night to like focus on what we need to do. We've got to keep riding the wave, and if we get through it, I would just love to face the Phillies again. I think our time has come to just take them out, basically. I just want to get that
game
chance.
2 London series.
Yeah, maybe not quite that stressful, but I'd be happy with just a thrashing. Just thrash them.
Just a thrashing.
If we get past the Brewers, but I think our players have shown enough heart and mettle, and people like Diaz when he came, I thought his head had gone the other night. I was like, don't put him back in. But fair play to him. So I've got a lot of faith in the team, and I think we can do it.
Okay, Tracey.
Darren will be pleased to know the Tigers are currently doing their bit for his prediction. It's Tigers Astros top 5, 3-0 to the Tigers at the moment. So that's looking good for that part. But I think we're going to take 2 out of 3 for the Brewers. I think we're going to have a little moment in there somewhere that just makes us go, oh. But I will be staying up, or at least getting a nap.
When you say
up.
Is that a good O or a bad O?
That's a bad O. That's like a O.
But yay in general.
Yes, but yay in general. 2 out of 3. Going to face the Phillies, and we're going to kick their ass.
Yes. Good.
Okay. And the Night Owl herself. What's your predictions?
I mean, we can't say anything other than a series win against the Brewers. As Jo mentioned, I would like to think that we've learned a fair bit from the past few days. We've played them recently. We looked like we were doing nothing at all yesterday in game 1 until Schwarzenbach came out, right? And I mean, the difference with the Brewers is I'm actually more scared of their bullpen than I am of their starting pitchers. But again, we've learned that, right? So we know that we have no choice but to go out and get at those starting pitchers. That's what we need to see, get on the front foot early, because your chances of getting anything against their bullpen are much slimmer. So I fear that tonight is going to be a struggle, purely because of what the guys have been through, right? On the one hand, you want to hope that they've got the buzz from last night and they're kind of roaring from it. But on the other hand, they've still been through a lot, both physically and emotionally, over the last few days. They've not had that break. The Brewers have. So I hope that we scrape a win tonight. I don't, and I'm hoping they prove me wrong. I don't expect fireworks tonight. I would like us to scrape a win. I wouldn't be surprised if we drop tonight. But again, then it's backs against the wall again, and we know that's when these guys come out. So I'd like to see them, especially relatively UK friendly-ish tonight. I would like to see them give us a nice win and keep us all kind of calm after that game 1.
They smoked a lot of cigars last night as well. Slightly concerned about that. Did you notice them? They're all their big cigars. I'm like, your lungs, boys.
I know. I mean, did they light them though? There was lots.
I saw a few, but Jo,
there was 1 or 2.
Yeah.
But I mean, they're grown-ups. They've got to know how to handle it.
That'd be sensible.
But I think tonight I'm a little bit nervous about, not because I don't have faith in them, but because of like what they've had to go through. But I think we shouldn't be scared of anyone. We've been absolutely fire. I'm excited that Kranek's in there. I was really pleased when I saw that. I think it's going to be a moment for him to come in. I wouldn't be surprised even if we see him tonight, because he's fresh, right? So I wouldn't be surprised to see that. But yeah, I think 2 out of 3, but it may be that they put us a little on edge tonight. I hope not. Like I said, I hope that at the very least we scrape through. And sorry, can I just say as well, one of the things about postseason baseball is we get Howie. We get to listen to Howie for every game. We've been our schedule has been messed up with, national broadcasts and stuff recently enough. We know that that's the way of the post game, so we can already concede that we haven't got GKR, so everyone can just listen to Howie and John Keith instead, and you will not regret it. And if anybody has not yet listened to Howie's call of Lindor's homer from game 1 yesterday, go and find it and thank me later, because it was just, I've lost count of how many times I've listened to that today, because it's just put it in my veins.
We're so spoiled, aren't we? We're so lucky.
We are. Like, there is never a bad broadcast for us to listen to. So, so I don't want to see whinging about no GKR. They are having their well-earned break. Well, I think Ronnie's doing some stuff with the Yankees, right? But
he's doing TBS, yeah.
Yeah, Keith and Gare are having their break. They've earned it. They've worked very hard. They can enjoy along with the rest of us, and we can savor some Howie and Keith time.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's a nice way to sort of wrap up that segment. Hopefully, like you say, we'll be waking up to a Mets series win as well. That would be nice. And then I guess we'll have to just sort of see where things go. We will be back, of course, next week for another edition of the pod. Hopefully, we'll be halfway through a series against the Phillies, and not us wondering how to fill half an hour of content for you guys listening wherever you're getting your podcast.
Just crying for half an hour otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, we could do that. It could be
sobbing. Yeah,
but we're not going to do that. It's not going to. We don't need to worry.
No,
we're going to be
celebrating in this
celebrating.
podcast.
Yes.
Yep. Keep it positive. And on that note, I'm going to say thank you to the wonderful ladies that have joined us tonight. So thank you to Jo, thank you to Tracey, thank you to Toria for joining and sharing your opinions. All that leaves us to say is let's go Mets.
Let's go Mets.
Come on.